With a population growing to almost 1 million birds, the Sandhill Crane will provide hunters with a new opportunity this fall.
Yeah, I think it really shows that we can recover populations, and then when we have a population that's recovered, that we should go back to what we use to manage species. I strongly believe, and as does the Alberta government, that hunters and anglers are the way that we need to manage our fish and wildlife species. And so when we have a species that's recovered, is doing well, and can sustain a hunt, we'll go right back to the Albertans that ultimately helped us to conserve that species, invested a lot of money in it. We're able to conserve habitat, and then they can help us be able to manage that species for generations to come.
Over 50 wildlife management units across southern and east central Alberta will provide hunters an opportunity to harvest a sandhill crane, something neighboring provinces have allowed for almost half a century.
This is a great opportunity for us here in Alberta that Saskatchewan and Manitoba have had for over 50 years to be able to harvest sandhill cranes, and the population is stable, and so I'm excited that Alberta is able to partner with the federal government to be able to provide that unique opportunity to Albertans, as well as to continue our practice of using hunters to be able to help manage our beautiful game species all across this province.
Ultimately, when it comes to table fare, Sandhill Crane is among some of the best tasting wild game you will come across. And as Brad Fenson demonstrates, it's very easy to prepare.
I was fortunate last year to go to Saskatchewan in October, and there was lots of cranes around. We went out with a number of people and shot a couple limits, so I do have some Sandhill cranes here in Alberta to work with. And here's a pair of breasts, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Got them all vacuum sealed. I do them individually so I can take them out and cook them as a steak or as hors d'oeuvres, but as I mentioned earlier, they're very elongated and tapered at the bottom, and they have this white fat on them, which is very similar to beef fat, and I think that's where a lot of the flavor comes from. But they're easy to work with. We're going to make some kebabs today, so we're going to cut them in bigger pieces because we don't want to dry it out. I talk about the texture and the grain of the meat being very similar to beef, and you can see that it does not look like your typical waterfowl. It's very tight grained, and you'll notice it when you eat it, that it has a texture that's very similar to domestic meat, and I think that's why people really key in on it and like it so much. But you can see tender even when raw, so that's always a good indication of how a wild game animal or bird is going to cook up. But we're just going to cube these up here. We make what I call the world's best marinade to put these in. Of course, you can grill these whole as a steak, and I've taken a jacquard knife, marinated them, and done them whole. You can slice them across the grain and they turn out fantastic, but we'll kebab this one for today as well. Again, look how, it's so tender that it just cuts with ease, and that's a good way to tell. If you're ever worried about how an animal's going to taste, what you can do is cut a little piece of it and put some olive, salt, and pepper and just flash it in the pan for 20 seconds and try it, and it'll tell you if you have to do some extra work with it or not. So there's your birds, and the world's greatest marinade. It's quite simple. We've got some olive oil here. It's always your base. It holds your ingredients together and also helps provide an agent to brown it when you put it on the grill. So about 1/4 cup of olive oil. I never use a whole lot of soy sauce, but I do like the flavor. Any salt tends to dry out meat, so a tablespoon or 2 of that. Worcestershire sauce, if you say that correctly, also adds a bit of flavor, so just a couple shakes. You have to add a little bit of garlic. We are in eastern Alberta, so about 1 or 2 cloves. We cheated and used the jar today. One thing that I like in a marinade is a little bit of lemon juice. It really helps to break things down and makes it tender. So I always squeeze in about half a lemon. And from there, it's real simple. If you've got some steak rub or some spices or seasoned pepper that you really like, this is the High Mountain one. We'll put a little bit of it in. And I love the Bearded Butcher stuff. They have different levels of heat, but this is the original. And there it is. There's your marinade. We'll just shake it up. We can put the birds in there. And they're going to get happy really fast. So squeeze the air out. Toss to coat all pieces. And normally I would set this aside, and I like to grill them at room temperature. If they're cold, the olive oil tends to congeal, and they're harder to heat through when you're trying to cook them medium to medium rare. So thinking ahead, we already have some in the marinade. And I'll show you how we can do these up. So here's some that have been getting happy overnight. And I have some skewers here. And we're just gonna put them on. And we can grill these up real fast and get some public opinion of what Sandhill Crane really tastes like. And if anyone's excited about getting out to explore the new opportunities in Alberta this year. It's not often we get new opportunities. I mean, it was way back when Ted Morton was minister that we had the last one with our bison hunt, but it has since closed because we had some real bad winters up north. So, you know, having a new hunting opportunity in Alberta it's a big deal. It does not happen often, and I know that the waterfowl community is very excited. I've heard from lots of people that have ordered decoys and calls, and they want to make sure they get out there and pursue things this fall. We'll just skewer up the last of these. There they are. So let's take these over to the grill and see if we can't cook them without overcooking them, which is always the key with wild game, but there they are. I think we're good to pull them off. The one thing you don't want to do is overcook them, and those look, you can often tell just by pushing, and that one is ready to go. So let me just grab a couple of these real quick. What I'm going to do, look at how tender those are. They are beautiful. And when you look at them inside, look at the tender, perfect medium, and I'm going crane hunting this fall.